Nvidia hits $4 trillion, a top Biden doctor pleads the fifth, and the best airport in America might surprise you. In today's trivia question, who did Lou Gehrig replace to begin his incredible streak of 2,130 consecutive games played? It's Thursday, July 10th, and this is the Flyover Podcast. Welcome to the Flyover Podcast, taking you above the noise for an unbiased, high-altitude view of today's headlines with daily coverage that's honest and refreshing. Let's cruise the news and land the facts. Good morning and welcome to the Flyover Podcast. I'm your weekday host, Ayla Brown. Hope you're having a great week. It's been really rainy here in Massachusetts, and my dog got very scared of the thunder last night. But hopefully this podcast is a bright part of your day, because it certainly is for me. Let's take off with the biggest headlines of the day. Let's start with a big milestone out of Silicon Valley. Nvidia made history yesterday by briefly becoming the world's first company to top a $4 trillion market valuation. That's right, $4 trillion. The chip maker has been riding a wave of demand for its AI processors, which power everything from ChatGPT-style models to autonomous vehicles. While the stock pulled back slightly by the closing bell, Nvidia has now leapfrogged both Apple and Microsoft in market cap. Analysts say the company is showing no signs of slowing down, with earnings projected to break more records in August. Meanwhile, on Capitol Hill, President Biden's longtime doctor is under fire. Dr. Kevin O'Connor declined to answer questions from the House Oversight Committee on Wednesday, pleading the fifth when asked if he'd ever been told to lie about Biden's health. Republicans are pointing to this as a key moment in their investigation into what they say was a cover-up of Biden's mental decline before he left office. Democrats, on the other hand, say invoking the fifth is a standard legal right and doesn't prove wrongdoing. The hearing adds more fuel to the already heated debate over transparency in presidential health records. And finally, if you are booking a flight anytime soon, Tampa might just be the place to fly through. Why? Because Tampa International Airport has been named the best major airport in the United States. The ranking evaluated passenger experience, Google reviews, amenities, and baggage handling. The airport earned the highest score, 71 out of 100. Phoenix Sky Harbor came in second, followed by Minneapolis-St. Paul in third. In general, global air travel is on the rebound. Passenger demand is up 8% year over year since this past April. See if your local airport made the top 10 by going to the link in the show notes below. I'll tell you this, Boston did not make the list. Let's dive into today's politics rundown, starting with a new trade war development, a big confirmation vote, and a criminal investigation making headlines in Washington. First, President Trump announced a 50% tariff on Brazilian imports, doubling down on his earlier April move. He cited Brazil's prosecution of former President Jair Bolsonaro as politically motivated and labeled the trade relationship unfair. While the U.S. actually runs a trade surplus with Brazil, the White House says the tariffs send a clear diplomatic message. Critics warn the higher rates could drive up costs for everyday items like coffee, beef, and orange juice. Next, in the Senate, lawmakers confirmed Brian Bedford as the new FAA administrator in a 53-43 vote. Bedford, who's been CEO of Republic Airways since 1999, is now stepping into one of the most high-pressure roles in aviation. Supporters say he brings critical industry experience, especially with regional carriers, while critics argue his close airline ties may raise questions over regulatory independence. And the FBI has launched criminal investigations into former FBI Director James Comey and former CIA Director John Brennan, focusing on their roles in the 2016 Trump-Russia probe. At the center of the investigation is Brennan's push to include the now discredited Steele dossier in intelligence reports, despite warnings from analysts. Comey, meanwhile, is under scrutiny for statements he made about the Clinton and Trump investigations. Officials say this marks a rare step in holding intelligence leaders accountable for their conduct during one of the most politically charged investigations in United States history. And finally, a Democratic super PAC is spending $20 million to boost Rep. Mikey Sherrill in the New Jersey governor's race. The former Navy pilot and federal prosecutors running to succeed outgoing Democratic Governor Phil Murphy. Her opponent, Republican Jack Ciattarelli, has President Trump's endorsement and is making a strong push in suburban and rural parts of the state. Democrats hope the cash infusion will shore up support in key swing counties and keep the governor's seat blue. Today's episode is powered by Fatty 15. Aging isn't just about getting older. It's about what's happening inside of our cells. Scientists are smart, and they now know that a lack of C15, an essential fatty acid newly discovered after 90 years, can lead to something called cellular fragility syndrome, and it affects your energy, sleep, joints, pretty much everything. Fatty 15 is here to change that. It's vegan, science-backed, developed with help from the U.S. Navy, and guys, you can start feeling better in just weeks and get 15% off when you go to fatty15.com/flyover15. And don't forget, use the code flyover15 at checkout. If you've forgotten any of that, just click on the link in the show notes below. It's time for today's podcast extra, where we spotlight stories just for our flyover listeners that you won't find in the email edition. First up, nearly 200 Democratic lawmakers are backing a legal challenge against President Trump's use of emergency powers to impose tariffs. The lawmakers filed a legal brief supporting a lawsuit that argues President Trump's use of the International Emergency Economic Powers Act, originally meant for national security threats, to justify sweeping new import taxes oversteps federal authority. The tariffs set to kick in on August 1st are part of President Trump's broader strategy to reshape global trade. Meanwhile, the U.S. Army is saying goodbye to most of its ceremonial horses. As part of a military restructuring focused on modern warfighting, the Army will retire 141 horses over the next year, phasing out cavalry programs at bases in 6 states. The change is expected to save $2 million annually. The Army says all retiring horses will be humanely adopted out to approved homes or organizations. And don't worry, because the ceremonial horse teams that handle military funerals at Arlington and Joint Base San Antonio are not going anywhere. And finally, a viral conversation online is highlighting frugal habits many Americans developed during tough times and never gave them up. I'm one of those people, but I've been like this since as long as I can remember. Some of those habits include ordering water instead of soda, collecting hotel toiletries, reusing containers, or always checking the clearance rack. Personal finance experts say these, quote, poor people habits are often just smart, sustainable choices. In this economy, stretching your dollar makes sense, whether you have to or not. That is your podcast extra roundup. Coming up, record high prices for Cooper Flag's Summer League debut tonight. I'll tell you how much tickets are going for right after finance. In the world of finance, Linda Yaccarino announced Wednesday that she's stepping down as CEO of X after just 2 years in the role. While she didn't give specifics, there's speculation she may join Elon Musk's AI adventure called XAI, which has been rapidly expanding and recently raised billions in funding. Yaccarino was brought in to help rebuild advertiser trust after Musk's acquisition, but it's unclear how successful that effort ultimately was. Meanwhile, the company behind the world's largest stablecoin is making a very old-school move. Tether has quietly stockpiled 80 tons of gold, worth around $8 billion, in a private vault in Switzerland. Executives say it's a hedge against global currency volatility, especially in regions where crypto is being used as a replacement for unstable national currencies. Tether's gold holdings now rival some small countries' reserves. And if you're waiting to shop Amazon Prime Day deals, you're not alone. The newly expanded 4-day sale got off to a very slow start, with day one sales reportedly down 41% from last year. Analysts say shoppers may be holding off to see if better discounts drop later in the event, especially amid inflation concerns and tighter summer budgets. All I'll say is I definitely did some shopping yesterday. I bought some things for my children and an anniversary present for my parents. I'm all about the deals, and I can't wait when it comes to shopping. But here's how the market did yesterday. The Nasdaq was up 0.94%, the S&P 500 rose 0.61%, and the Dow Jones Industrial Average was also up 0.49%. Bitcoin rose 1.83%, and gold was up 0.43%. But the big mover of the day was BioMarin Pharmaceutical, which saw its stock plunge more than 40% after the company revealed plans to convert $250 million of its reserves into Ethereum, a move that rattled investors and raised big questions about crypto risk. In sports, we start with a high-profile appearance from President Donald Trump. He says he'll be in the stands for the FIFA Club World Cup final this Sunday at MetLife Stadium in New Jersey. The announcement comes just days after FIFA revealed it's opening a new office inside of Trump Tower. Now to Las Vegas, where hype is building for Cooper Flagg's NBA Summer League debut tonight. The 18-year-old baller's already drawing a crowd for his new team, the Dallas Mavericks. Average ticket prices for tonight's game are topping $223. That's the second highest in Summer League history. Part of the buzz? Well, he's going head-to-head with LeBron James's son, Bronny James, and the Lakers. Who's going to win? Leave a comment in the comments section below. And if I were a betting woman, I would put money on Cooper Flagg. And over at Wimbledon, it's been a tough run for Team USA. Ben Shelton was eliminated yesterday after falling in straight sets to world number one Jannik Sinner in the quarterfinals. That leaves Taylor Fritz as the last American standing in the singles bracket. Fritz plays today against defending champion Carlos Alcaraz, and it's going to be a tough match, but with pressure on his side, anything can happen. In science and technology, researchers have discovered that Neanderthals may have been a lot handier than we thought. Archaeologists digging in Belgium's Skladina cave found lion bones that were shaped into what appears to be multi-use tools. I guess kind of think of it as a prehistoric Swiss Army knife. These tools show signs of being used for both cutting and scraping, and they date back to over 45,000 years. This adds to the growing evidence that Neanderthals had more advanced skills and intelligence than they've long been given credit for. Because whenever I think of Neanderthals, I always think of that Geico guy in the commercial. Am I the only one that thinks of him? Meanwhile, in New Zealand, filmmaker Peter Jackson, yes, the Lord of the Rings guy, is joining forces with a biotech company in an ambitious effort to bring back the South Island giant moa. What is a moa, you ask? It's a massive flightless bird that stood nearly 12 feet tall before going extinct roughly 600 years ago. The project uses preserved DNA and genome editing to try and resurrect the species. Ooh, it's kind of freaky. Coming up, what would you do if you were a week away from moving into your dream apartment, only to find out that you were kicked out before you got the keys? That story is next. Let's jump into some stories we couldn't leave out of the podcast. In New York City, social media star and former LSU gymnast Olivia Dunne says she was turned down by a Manhattan co-op board, even after making an all-cash offer on Babe Ruth's former $1.6 million apartment. Dunne, who has millions of followers and one of the highest NIL earnings in college sports, suspects her celebrity status may have played a role in the board's decision. Here she is talking about it on her TikTok.
Guys, I'm so upset. So a few months ago, I decided I was going to make my first real estate purchase, which is so exciting, and I was going to get an apartment in New York City. It was Babe Ruth's apartment. So naturally, I'm telling everybody I'm excited. I was gonna buy it. Then the week that I'm supposed to get my keys to my brand new apartment, I get a call. The co-op board denied me. I have no clue. Maybe they didn't want a public figure living there, but I was literally supposed to get the keys, and that week they denied me. So, yeah. But long story short, don't try to live in a co-op. You might get denied, and you won't get Babe Ruth's apartment.
What are your thoughts? More on that story can be found in the show notes below. In a move toward more inclusive play, Mattel has launched its first Barbie doll with type 1 diabetes. The new doll comes equipped with visible glucose monitor and an insulin pump, part of an effort to better represent children with chronic conditions. This new addition comes on the heels of Mattel's push to diversify Barbie lines, like the first doll with a prosthetic leg, one with hearing aids, and another with Down syndrome, bringing the total to over 175 diverse dolls in the fashionistas lineup. And finally, in viral video news, a duckling in Texas stole the show in a backyard pool. While the rest of its duck family calmly floated nearby, this little guy zipped in circles like it was training for the Olympics. It was almost like a water cyclone. It was so cute, and naturally, the internet couldn't get enough. You have to see the video in the show notes below. Here's yesterday's poll question and the results. Have you ever camped in a bathroom to avoid a social situation? 73% said you never have. 9% said, yep, needed a breather. Another 9% said once or twice. Another 9% said thought about it. Oh my goodness, you guys all must have emotions of steel, and I very much respect that about all of you. But here's the poll question for today. Were you the kind of kid who, we were just talking about Barbie, so did you keep Barbie pristine in her box? Did you give Barbie extreme makeovers? Maybe you built entire Barbie plot lines. Or maybe you were one of those kids that only liked her car. Or lastly, who's Barbie? Those are the different ways that you can vote in today's poll. And I'll tell you this. I was not into Barbies. It was just never my thing. I was that girl who was outside playing capture the flag with all the boys in the neighborhood. And I don't know, I had no time for dolls. But I'm sure I am the minority of people here, and I will read your answers in tomorrow's show. Vote in the link in the show notes below. I can't wait to read those answers. Here's today's trivia question. Who did Lou Gehrig replace to begin his incredible streak of 2,130 consecutive games played? The answer? Lou Gehrig took over as the New York Yankees first baseman after Wally Pipp, when Pipp, suffering from a headache, decided to remove himself from the lineup on June 2nd, 1925. This decision allowed Lou Gehrig to start his incredible streak of 2,130 consecutive games played. Do you think he got tired? I would have. Oh, and I hope you're not tired today. Thank you for spending your day with us here on the Flyover Podcast. That is a wrap, but don't go too far because tomorrow is Friday. We've got a full show to get you into the weekend, plus another feel-good flyover from Amy Hess. Anyways, thank you so much for flying with us. See you tomorrow.